asked me over the past couple of years if I would do transition pictures for a woman called Ayn Rand, who was born in Russia under the name Elisa Rosenbaum and died at the age of 77 in 1982. Very influential woman, playwright, novelist, philosopher. Famous for two particular novels, of course, Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead, which have sold tens of millions of copies. I'd only heard of her because Paul Ryan, the former Speaker of the House, was said to be an aficionado of her work and her philosophy. And her philosophy, if I've got this right, was of laissez-faire capitalism. Everybody's out for themselves. You just do what makes you happy and don't worry about anybody else. Just work hard. No need for religion, no need for any faith or God. Just do what's right for you. Something she called rational self-interest. And don't depend on anybody else, including the government. She had been a lifelong smoker, very heavy smoker, and contracted lung cancer. So she had to have an operation on that, and I think she died of heart failure following the operation. So things didn't go well for Ayn Rand, but with 30-something million books sold, she still remains influential in certain people's lives and philosophies. So I thought I would go into her energy and see what happened to her. Remember, no faith, no God, no religion. It's all about you. And quite honestly, this may be the worst set of transition pictures I've done. The most grueling for me to witness. When I found her, she was walking along on a spongy surface. Very, very damp and spongy. And she was sinking into it bit by bit. The further she walked, the deeper she sank. I assumed this was her slow death of lung cancer towards the end because it felt suffocating. It felt like the further she got down, the less she could breathe, and it sort of closed in around her eventually, and she was just stuck there under the surface, unable to breathe properly. That's what lung cancer must feel like, I suppose. There was a tunnel entrance there, but it came at her like a shark. Just black hole came to her, gobbled her up, and she floated around in the blackness for a little while, and then the tunnel just spat her out into that cave that I always see. It's metaphorical, it doesn't exist, but it's how I understand how the person is feeling as they transition from form to formless. She landed with a thump and immediately began thrashing around as though she was wearing a straitjacket. No! Flinging herself around like if you were living, you would hurt yourself doing that. But she was protesting. She didn't want any of this. She was thrashing. She was fighting it. No! It can't be right. It can't be true. There's nothing. She pounded the floor with her fists. No! She was incredibly stubborn. Didn't want to know anything that went against what she already believed. That was her straitjacket. And maybe the expenditure of energy that this took was what it needed to get rid of her ego concerns and make her lighter. But I don't know how much lighter it made her, because as she went up the tunnel and she set off very unwillingly, she covered her eyes. She was like staggering around. No, I don't want to see. Don't show me. It's not real. I don't think she was in denial of dying. I just don't think she wanted to know what dying entailed, especially if it had a spiritual element to it. And of course, it's all spiritual. So this was frightening. It contravened every principle and rule she'd set for her own life and for her followers. She got to the light, still deeply unhappy and resistant, unyielding. And she just began crying. breaking down. Why did nobody tell me this? Why was I not informed? It's almost like Grace said, because you wouldn't listen. The evidence was all around you. You chose to see only what you had decided to see. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what it felt like. And once she had found out that this was not the way she had thought it was going to go, instead of accepting it with grace, she simply resigned herself to defeat. And she would have drowned herself at this particular point if there'd been a pool of water there. Oh, for God's sake, just take me. Who can be bothered learning this stuff? And she flung herself into the light, as if she were throwing herself off a cliff. Oh, chill you! And straight into the light. Angry, unyielding, arrogant, full of herself in ways that most people aren't. I mean, most people have at least a modicum of humility. It's like she had wedded herself to a particular approach to life, a particular set of theories, a philosophy, an ideology, and anything which contradicted that, or even suggested that she might be wrong, sent her into spasms of despair and resistance. Ayn Rand was a very, very stubborn, stiff, and unhappy woman. I often think that people who chain smoke are hiding something. They're numbing something. They don't like themselves, so over a period of time, they slowly kill themselves. It's self-sabotage, basically. And in her case, that would ring true. I don't know much about her worldly philosophy, but in terms of the spirit of the woman, the soul of the woman, it was aggressive, it was unhappy, and was very much out of sync with spiritual vibrations, which made the transition very, very difficult and unenviable. Ayn Rand is not somebody I would ever want to follow.